Get ready to experience the abundance of a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Welcome to From Our Family to Yours, the podcast that explores health and wellness through food. Host Brittany Giroudi dives deep into guests' personal health stories, science-based revelations, and of course, awesome recipes for the whole family. She will transform your beloved family recipes into delicious, health-promoting, whole food, plant-based magic. And now your host, Brittany Giroudi.
Welcome to From Our Family to Yours podcast. This is the very first episode. I am so excited for you guys to be here. This is the first podcast I have ever put on myself. I've been interviewed for podcasts, but I've never had my own. So very exciting here. And I'm just so excited that you clicked on this video. Maybe you're interested in a whole food plant-based lifestyle. Maybe you've seen my YouTube channel, The Giroudi Family. And maybe you just clicked on it because you saw the title and you were interested. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the idea behind the podcast and my health journey. I'm hoping with this podcast that you guys get to know me better. Sometimes when we make recipe videos, it's very, I'm teaching you guys something, but you're not necessarily getting to know who I am more personally. So I'm really excited for this podcast just to kind of build that relationship with you and to share your stories and help you recreate family recipes. So the podcast idea is to interview you guys and take a family recipe that you loved and me showing you how to transform it into being whole food plant-based, sos-free. So I'm going to interview, one guest each episode. You're going to send me your recipe ahead of time. I will tweak it and we're going to share with you the results. And then the following week that the podcast comes out, I'll make the recipe on our YouTube channel to share with everyone. So they're kind of going to come out as pairs. So when there's a new podcast episode, when we talk about the recipe and we kind of dissect it, so that way you learn how to cook and change recipes and you get really familiar with it. And then I'm going to show you on the next YouTube video that follows after. So I hope you guys will find this really interesting. And I think that there's so much value of learning to adapt already the recipes that you have. A lot of us grow up with, a recipe. I had a recipe box from my mom where she kept all of her favorite recipes, and, none of them are whole food plant-based. I don't even think any of them are close to being vegetarian. So, but a lot of them are nostalgic to me. I have distinct recipes that, when I think of my mom that she used to make, and they have really great memories for me. And they're comforting. And there's things that I like to make around the holidays specifically. And I've learned throughout the years that there are easy ways of switching items, keeping the flavor, keeping that same, the same smells and all of that, but making it health promoting. So that's the goal for this podcast. Again, I will, anyone can be on it. You can I have a little Google form that you can fill out if you're interested. You can send me any recipe. I have not turned down a recipe yet. I'm sure there's going to be one that stumps me at some point, but it's just so fun to figure it out and then to share with you how I transformed it, to have you make the recipe, to get its blessing, and then to share with everyone on YouTube your family recipe. So I'm just so excited for this. So I'm going to talk about my background really quick before we jump into my family recipe for this first episode. So my name is Brittany Giroudi. I am currently 32 years old. I've been whole food plant-based for 7 years. And I say that before being plant-based, I had the biggest health scare personally so far. And it really I was really awoke to lifestyle and the power that I have to control my health outcomes. So 7 years ago, I was newly married, and, I didn't necessarily think I was extremely unhealthy, but I was obese. I had a lot of extra weight on me. I'm also very short. If you ever meet me in real life, I'm only 4'11", so I am a shorty. And I had a lot of extra weight on me. I've always kind of been chubby my entire childhood and as a young adult, but there were other things that were creeping up. Like I would go to the doctor and my blood pressure was an issue. So much to the point where they put me on 2 different blood pressure medicines. And I was under the age of, 25 at that point, and even younger. I was starting to have all these issues. I also had high cholesterol. So my total cholesterol was around 242, where they were starting to talk about statins. And, luckily also I had a blood test taken for my husband's health insurance to kind of get a discount. And they checked something called a C-reactive protein, an HS C-reactive protein, which checks for the level of inflammation that your body has. And I never had heard of that test before, but when I got my results back, it came back like in bold red, highlighted. When something was wrong, it was highlighted. And mine came back at 16. Okay. And under 3 is normal. And at the same time, so let's just recount, I was obese, probably morbidly obese, to be honest. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, this high C-reactive protein. I started to have a little bit of chest pain, which was scary. I also had anxiety really bad at the same time. I haven't really spoke about what a whole food plant-based sos-free lifestyle has done for my mental health. We can make a whole episode on that if you're interested, but that is such a huge part of my backstory as well that I haven't really spoke about, but really crazy high levels of anxiety. I also, what else? I'm trying to think of everything else that was going on at that time. And just like not feeling well, like avoiding hills, not really wanting to go like and be very active, just overall not great. And so at the same time, my parents also had major health issues with them where, growing up, my dad had heart disease and triple bypasses and stents and a lot of heart condition stuff with him and diabetes and all the things. And then on my mom, my mom had cancer of a few times. And so, I was trying to avoid breast cancer and I'm trying to avoid heart disease and those 2 things were very prevalent in my whole childhood into young adulthood. And so I just got lucky. I was flipping through Netflix and it was the night before Easter and I saw Forks Over Knives, which is a documentary if you haven't heard of it. And I watched it and it literally was like them talking to me. We had Dr. Campbell talk about cancer. We had Dr. Esselstyn talk about heart disease, and they had the producer go through and do his blood results, and his blood results were so much better than mine, even before starting, that, I watched him adopt a whole food plant-based lifestyle, and then he did his blood after his blood tests, and they came back, much, much better. So I just thought like, gosh, this guy is like double to triple my age. I don't know, like, if he can do it, I can do it. So I just kind of, I just decided to go all in. People ask me all the time, did I jump in, 100%? I did. I was very scared at that point. Again, all of those issues and seeing family members really sick and then not feeling great and having all of these, really severe things going on with me. I just got scared. I was a newlywed. I was just starting my life, starting my teaching career. It's not what I envisioned before turning 30, how my life was going to go. And, it's so wild to think about now because it almost seems like a different life. This past 7 years has been amazing. I mean, I lost 70 pounds. I got off all my blood pressure medicine, all my, cholesterol is beautiful now, feel great. We've went on so many vacations, like hiking mountains. I never thought I was not like a hiking mountain person, and we've done several different vacations in Washington State and in Colorado, doing some pretty like good hikes that I'm very proud of. And, it's wild to think like, oh my gosh, like how much energy I had and just feeling great all the time. So it almost seems like a different lifetime. So I adopted the whole food plant-based lifestyle. I jumped in, went sos-free, which is salt, oil, and sugar-free, and learned all I could from all the plant-based doctors, all the people that have been doing this for a long time, and just loved it. And I started making recipes to share, to make recipes that are similar to what we had when we were doing the standard American lifestyle diet, before adopting this one. And I figured there was recipes that, you can do switches for things and they still remind you of spinach and artichoke dip that I would get when we went out to, whichever restaurant it was. That was kind of my thing back in the day. Or, like my husband really liked the rodeo burgers from Burger King. So I figured out how to make a plant-based burger with barbecue sauce, and we make a baked onion ring, and there you have it. It tastes so good. And, you don't miss feeling like, garbage after eating the Burger King one. And so I just found that I could help people by sharing recipes and creating them and make them healthy, but making them familiar that people, reminded them and that they enjoyed. And, you don't have to give anything up. I think a lot of the times when we come to this lifestyle, we have a mindset of, oh my gosh, I have to eliminate all of these things. And I really challenge you to switch your frame of mind to a growth mindset and think about how much you're getting. I can't again tell you how much of a blessing it has been to adopt this lifestyle, and how much I enjoy food. I enjoy cooking. I love it. I'm creative in the kitchen. I'm excited over food, and I feel like I'm not giving up anything. It's all abundance that this lifestyle is giving me. So that is quickly my story. Again, I can go into a more depth intake of all the things if you want to hear about my anxiety journey. If you want to hear about anything specifically about blood tests, and I can dive a little bit quicker, that's just an overview of me. I'd love to share. And this is another reason why I started the podcast, so we can kind of, get to know each other. You guys can get to see a side of me. Again, we have a YouTube channel where I make there's hundreds of recipes on there now, and on our website, and we do cooking classes and all the things. But this is just kind of, I want it to be like sitting with a friend where you can turn this on and, if you're cleaning your house while you're listening or you're driving somewhere, it's just a nice comfort space that somebody who's also interested in this lifestyle and can give you some tips and tricks of, again, how to take those family recipes and make them health promoting, but still like keep them, all of these holidays we just got over, for us, we celebrate Easter. So it's like, we just got kind of through all the major holidays going in before we go into the spring and summer. And, I do make specific meals like for Christmas every year, for Easter every year. And, I feel so good that, they're health promoting. They don't make me feel like, junk after. And they still have all of that, sense of family, history, recipes that you can pass down and feel good about it. So anyway, that's the premise of this podcast, is that I'm inviting you guys to come on. So if you're interested, you will find the link in the show notes for the Google form. You're welcome to fill it out. It's, if you're interested, I'd love to hear your plant-based story. I'd love for you to share, pick a recipe that you'd like me to teach you how to make whole food plant-based SOS free. And again, we'll go through it. Another really cool thing about this podcast is after it comes out the following week, I will make that recipe on our YouTube channel for everyone. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, that sounds so good, I want to try it, in a week, you can. It'll be on our website, and I'll make a video walking you guys through it for the video. For this first one, we're going to get into it in a second. We're going to make my family's famous chocolate cream cheese cake recipe, which if you've been following me for a while, you have probably seen it. I'm going to talk you through the original recipe and what I did to make it whole food plant-based, SOS-free, and I'm really excited again to share this one with you. It is so important to me. It's a recipe that my family made every birthday, every holiday. And it's just so awesome for me to see so many people that make it for their birthday or for a celebration. And, I think my great Aunt Ruby would be really, really, really happy to see that recipe has lived on for so long. She passed back when I was just starting high school. And so, to look back and see like, oh my gosh, 20 plus years, people are still making that cake. And it's just such a sweet thing for me to think that, these recipes can live on and be so important to us. And it may become a family tradition for you guys once you find something you love. All right, so we're going to take a break. We're going to hear from our sponsor, and I will be back right after, and we'll go through the recipe and talk about how you can make it whole food plant-based, SOS-free.
Whole food plant-based recipes for you and your family? Yes, please. The Giroudi Family Membership is built for families that want to provide the best nutrition possible without sacrificing taste, even ensuring spouses and kids will be asking for seconds. You've seen us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Now it's time to unlock even more delicious content. For as little as $10 a month, join our supportive Giroudi Family Membership community and gain access to tons of new items added monthly, like 10 new whole food plant-based SOS-free recipes, live and recorded virtual cooking classes, live and recorded relaxing art classes, and an extra YouTube video. We also leave 4 months of membership content up at a time. That means you'll have access to 40+ recipes, 8 hours of cooking classes, and more. You also can cancel at any time. Ready to join? Head to GiroudiMembership.com to start your membership today.
All right, let's talk about my family recipe. So for this first one, I'm the only guest, just because I wanted to explain what the podcast was about, how the format's going to be. But I thought we'd start with one of my family recipes that I think has become so beloved on our YouTube channel. I'm going to talk about the original cake recipe. I have it in front of me on a piece of paper that has been Xeroxed and copied like hundreds of times. But we're going to talk about how we made it whole food plant-based. So the original recipe has been described from members of my family as being a somewhat laborious cake. It's a little difficult, time sensitive. And to describe the cake, this cake was always served as a bundt cake. It always was served cold. And generally, I feel like you were team chocolate cake or you were team cream cheese filling. Usually you liked like one or the other, right? It was a chocolate cake with a cream cheese filling on the inside, but always when you talk to family members, it would be like, oh, I really like the cream cheese filling, or, oh, I like the chocolate part. I found that this cake was good the first day. It was very much like a solid cake. But after that, the cake part got kind of dried out and wasn't really, I don't remember people like really grabbing towards it on day 2 and 3 and 4. I will say that our version, I think, makes it so much better. Not only, of course, is it healthy and that's great, but I find that the cake part stays moist like days after. It doesn't get dried out. I also find that it doesn't, it's not like as compact as the original. It goes really well. The cake's still pretty fluffy for the bundt cake. And, it's good. It's just as good, maybe even better on day 2, 3, 4, 5, if you have it by then. So we do serve it as a bundt cake most times. If you watch my YouTube channel, you'll see that we made it as a loaf in a loaf pan. Don't do that. I only did that back in the day because I did not have a silicone bundt pan. I'm not sure why I didn't just buy one when I was recipe testing it to make it this, but we now have a silicone bundt pan that I 100% use to make this recipe. And when you guys see the recording that comes out next, the following week, you'll see me do it in a bundt pan the way it's supposed to be made. So don't make it in a loaf pan, make it in a bundt pan. And we do serve it cold. It should be served cold. So this is a great one to make like the day before, even if you don't have time. It freezes great if you want to make it and freeze it, so you don't even have to think about that. It also does hold up really well. So let's talk about the original recipe. The original recipe has, I can read it to you guys, but it has 2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of oil, 2 eggs, 3 cups of flour, 3/4 cups of cocoa powder. There's baking soda, baking powder, salt, hot coffee, butter or sour milk, and vanilla. So that is the ingredient part. Sometimes they also did coconut in this cake, but I'm not a huge coconut fan. So, and to be honest, I don't need extra saturated fat, so we just leave it out because I just loved how it was, the chocolate and the cream cheese filling. So for the way that I went about this, I just broke it down step by step. So for the 2 cups of sugar, I replaced it with date paste or date sugar. Now, not all recipes you're going to be able to go from date paste or date sugar. One is wet and one is granular. This recipe, I got asked so many times when I came out with it that I tested it both ways. It actually works. So if you have date paste or you have date sugar, this recipe worked. That was a little trial and error though, but the main point for me going over this is that we replaced the white sugar with dates and in any form. And so that's my preferred sugar source, is that I like to use dates, any dried fruit per se, as a great replacement for sugar. And you can make a paste really easily, or even find it, dehydrated into a granular version for date sugar. For the oil, I replaced oil with applesauce. It's a great hack. If you haven't tried it, I haven't bought oil in over 7 years, so we don't have it. And anytime you really run across a baking recipe for oil, pull out that unsweetened applesauce, or you can make it your own really easily. It works out fantastic. For the eggs, I replaced it. I'm sure you guys already know, but I used a flax egg. So we use flax eggs a lot. It's a great thickener, a binder, and you just make a flax egg by doing 1 tablespoon of flax meal, which is just ground up flax seed, mixed with 3 tablespoons of water. Let it sit for a little bit, and it makes a great egg replacement. For the flour, I always like to make combinations of flour. One thing in whole food plant-based cooking is people complain about how dense desserts are, or like breads, if you make a quick bread. I find that making a combination of flours really helps to not make it as dense. So I picked oat flour, and then I like to do a whole wheat flour or even a buckwheat flour if you're gluten-free. And that combination is really nice. You also could do, we've done it with einkorn flour instead of whole wheat flour. So you can kind of play around, but I like to use multiple flours, and I just find it makes it a little bit lighter. We used cocoa powder, baking soda, and baking powder as well. And then for the salt replacement, we did white miso paste. Just a little bit of that. And then also for the coffee, you could use coffee, or you could do a coffee replacement, or even a tea. And in a pinch, you also could do like hot water would be fine. All 3 of those work. Now for coffee replacements, we really love different brands. There is one that comes out with that's actually made from the pit of dates ground up, which is really, it's called chroma coffee, or chroma tea. I have to find the right name of it off the top of my head, or maybe it's just chroma. But I'll link it down in the show notes as well. It makes a beautiful, like, if you're looking for a coffee replacement, that is, I think, the best one I've ever found. It's made with the pit of dates ground up. Really, really interesting. And for me, that's the closest I found, but there are other brands as well. And you also, again, can use tea, or you can use hot coffee, whatever your preference is. Just make sure it's hot when it goes into your cake. So I made sure that was the same. And then instead of buttermilk or sour milk, we made our own buttermilk. So you can take plant milk and add a little bit of apple cider vinegar, or even like lemon in a pinch, and you can make your own buttermilk. Let it sit. You can let it sit with your flax egg. The buttermilk will kind of curdle, and then you know it's done, and you can add it in. And again, it works wonderful. And we use vanilla as well, you know, for the vanilla. So I just kind of broke it apart step by step. I found that it made it really simple for me to kind of go through. And then of course there's testing. I mean, not every recipe when you think it in your head is going to work, but it worked beautifully. You know, there's some trial and error with amounts. Like if I'm going to swap out how much sugar really needs to be in it. So there was 2 cups of sugar, but I found that half a cup of date sugar was fine. You know, I didn't start off with 2 cups. 2 cups is a lot. So you can, you know, I think you have to definitely play in the kitchen no matter what, especially when you're recipe testing. I know for me, making recipes, there's a process to it, but just to show you that that's kind of the stepping stones to starting your base. Okay, so that's the chocolate part of the cake. So in your silicone bundt pan, you would take half of that batter and add it. And then we would take a cream cheese filling, which we're going to talk about right now, and then add that, and then the remaining last part of that cake batter. So you take half of that, put in the cream cheese filling, and then put the rest of it on top to make kind of a centerpiece filling for this cake. So the cream cheese filling, the original recipe had sugar, vanilla extract, an egg, cream cheese, and chocolate chips. Okay, so I again went down step by step. For the sugar, I did dates, and I actually did pitted dates. That worked great. I did this all in a high-speed blender. I also did vanilla for vanilla. That was an easy one. And then for the egg cream cheese mixture, you know, the egg is in there, but we're not really like trying to make anything rise. So instead of that, we just want to make it nice and thick like cream cheese. So I did 1 cup of white beans that I've rinsed and drained. I did 1 cup of raw cashews, and then I did some plant milk to help your blender, because we have, you know, white beans, cashews, dates, and it all has to like be blended up somehow. Don't just add it in without any liquid to your Vitamix or blender. I added a little bit of plant milk to help that move along. And then again, I just kind of folded in, and for the chocolate chips, I used dark chocolate chips. We really like the Santa Barbara dark chocolate chips. So I just swapped that out for that. And that was it. So we put all of that except the dark chocolate chips in a blender, blend it till it's nice and smooth. You can add it to like a little bowl and then fold in your dark chocolate chips. And then again, you're going to do that whole amount of the cream cheese filling over half the batter in your bundt pan. And then you can add the remaining part of that cake batter on top. And I baked it the same time. This cake takes 50 minutes. It's a little bit of a long time to bake a cake, but it works great. You can do the toothpick test to make sure it's done. But in the silicone pan, instead of using, you know, a different bundt pan that you might be worried that things are going to stick, you know, we're not oiling, we're not buttering and flouring our baking bakeware. The silicone pan worked fantastic. Everything comes out beautifully. The trick to getting cakes out of silicone pans is just to let it cool completely. That's really the ticket. Don't rush anything. Let it cool down, and then you can take it out just like you would a normal bundt cake. And again, this one, to make it, I served it like the traditional one. We put it in the refrigerator after it's completely cold and removed from the pan, let it cool, get really cold, and then that's how you would serve it. Okay. Other ideas too is that this cake comes out, generally my family always did like powdered sugar over top of it. What I like to do is I like to take some extra date paste and kind of use that as an icing. And then I like to add fresh fruit to this. So like blackberries, raspberries, blueberries. It gives it so much niceness, added to the chocolate and some freshness, having some fruit in there. And then, we've done a variety of things. You could take like chopped nuts and put that onto the date paste on top to make it look fancy. It just kind of depends. And you also could do, you can melt chocolate and make it extra chocolatey if you really wanted to. But there are all these little ways of like tweaking it. And this is something I always teach in my YouTube videos and when I do classes, is that, this is important to us because it's been in my family for forever. I remember, them serving it at every Christmas and Easter and people's birthdays. And when my husband and me started to date, he loved the cake. It kind of got called Mark's cake for a long time. And it's important to us. I make it for my husband every single year. He asks for it for his birthday. So at minimum, I'm making it once a year for that. And I just have great fond memories of this. And so again, I serve it the way that we had, cold, and all of those tweaks I mentioned. But, you guys do it how you want. It's your family. If you love coconut, you could put some shredded coconut over the date paste. You can make a vanilla icing. We have lots of recipes on our channel for like vanilla icing or chocolate frosting. So you can kind of play around again. I'm not in your household eating the food, any of my recipes. You should always tweak anything to be what you guys enjoy. But to say that is a feat of a recipe, I don't know if you guys, it's hard to say because you guys don't know, I'm not in person with you. I can't make you didn't try the original cake versus this cake, but this is probably the recipe I am the most proud of because I think it nails it and I think it improves it. I'm going to tell you. Again, the original was dried out. You kind of liked one or the other. You didn't really like, you had a favorite. This one, it's like perfect. There's no favorites. Everything's my favorite. It's just, it stays really well. It's great on day 4, just as good as day 1. And I'm just so excited. So if you guys haven't tried it, please go and check that out. That's how I transformed it was beloved. It was made all the time in my family. It's a tradition. It's a tradition that I hope to pass down to when we have a family. And I have started doing that obviously with my husband's birthday. It's his birthday cake. I ask him every year what he wants and he still says that cake. So that's become a tradition. And I just want to say that, we're going to do this with your family's stuff as well. So you're not giving anything up. There's ways of transforming it and making it health promoting and delicious, and still gives you all of those great memories. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first podcast episode. I'm so excited. I can't wait for you guys to see all that I have planned for this podcast. And I hope you guys will consider maybe, signing up and being a guest. I'd love to have you and talk to you. And, the whole format will be, again, we're going to chat about your plant-based journey. And then you can share with me a family recipe that you want me to help you change into a health promoting one. And we'll see if I nail it and get it close. And then always there's going to be a YouTube video that goes along with it. So the next YouTube video that you guys will see will be me making this chocolate cream cheese cake the correct way in a bundt pan, and talking about it and just sharing it. And if you guys make it, let me know. It brings me so much joy to see you guys make this cake. I think this recipe comes from my great Aunt Ruby, and I really do think that she would be so happy to know that like 20 plus years after she passed, like people are still making it, and now new families are finding it and loving it. And so, what a great way I feel for me to honor her by keeping this family tradition alive. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm so excited to start podcasting, and this is my first time doing it, so please be kind. As we come out with new episodes, I am sure I will get better. Practice makes everything better, I find, even with cooking and everything else. So leave us a nice positive comment if you enjoyed this. Make sure that you follow this podcast on any platform that you find podcasts. And I will see you guys in the next one. But thank you guys so much. This is From Our Family to Yours, where I take your family recipes, make them whole food plant-based, and give them back to you, and that you can keep all those family traditions while enjoying your whole food plant-based lifestyle with them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for listening. And I hope you guys enjoy our chocolate cream cheesecake that is our family tradition. Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning into From Our Family to Yours. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with others and leave a rating and a review. For more information or to connect with Brittany, you can visit her online at www.thegerudifamily.com and on YouTube at The Gerudy Family. We'll see you next time.